And TM Group is one of the largest search companies in the UK. We have circa 24% market share, and we produce something like 6,000 search packs a day. Our ethos is all about making sure that we can make the property sale process as quick and as efficient as possible, and to ensure that those home buyers get the homes of their dreams as quick and as fast as possible, given that we've got estate agents, mortgage brokers, conveyancers, all in that kind of complicated chain. So TM Group tries to try and make that smoother, and I think one of the key things that we're looking to do is to encourage a lot more technology to kind of digitize that process, which is one of the key reasons we're working with TwentyTech. Previously, we had our own internal development teams, hugely talented team, but we also had kind of 4 or 5 different products that we offer as well. So that team was focused around delivering kind of standard BAU updates, working with customers to kind of get feature changes. But the problem we have is that when you're trying to digitize an industry and you're trying to make so many changes, you don't have the extension that you need. You don't have the free time to deliver a product. So, we would look at a project and, I have a very talented product team that would go out, spend time with customers. We looked at the market and we said that conveyancers typically log into 11 to 13 different systems during the day. And we were like, oh my God, this is amazing. They're having to log into so many different systems. But we didn't have the flexibility to run that project. We just had too many competing demands within the business. You've got the kind of BAU, you've got the feature updates, and then you're trying to think about innovation and digitization. It's a difficult process to go through when you run everything internally. You either scale very quickly internally, which creates lots of different challenges, or you look at different alternatives. And I think that was, so for us, typically we would go very much from product requirements into a development queue, but we were never able to get it through the queue. It was always kind of competing projects, I would say, that caused us more problems and really held us back from innovating. Yeah, so I'm really lucky in that, having worked for a lot of different prop tech organizations, what we've been able to do is we've been able to kind of blend teams together. So we've had that ability to have the internal kind of team for feature sets, but we've also been able to work with remote teams. In my own career, I've worked with remote teams, but this is the first time the TM Group has done it. And I remember sitting down with a team and saying, okay, look, right, what we need to do is we need to extend our offering. We've got to become innovative. We want to digitize the industry. And I sat down with my infrastructure team, my architecture team, my lead developers, and we came up with a concept that is now known as TM Gateway. And we sat down and said, right, okay, we need to produce this, but how do we do this when you don't have the kind of team in place? So I'd said to the team, look, I've worked before with remote teams, and the key thing for me was to work with a team that understands a bit more about you and understands a bit more about the industry. But fundamentally, we made a clear decision that working with a remote team, you have to make sure that you've got a good set of requirements. You've got a good understanding of what the product needs to do. We have a very talented UI, UX and team here that actually deliver the kind of concepts, and that really helps you work with a remote team. And I think the thing about working with a remote team as well is you have to treat them as an extension of your own team. They have to be part of TM Group. And I know with TwentyTech, we have our morning calls, we'll have our stand-ups, and we'll have our presentations, and all the team feel like they're part of the kind of TM Group delivery. And when they present the product, they're presenting the product as theirs. Yeah. And I think the time zone actually, I believe, works in our favour, because I feel you get a lot quicker turnaround of development. By the time you've produced the user stories and then you've got that kind of backlog, you've got overnight things tend to generate, and then you've got a really good crossover in the morning period just to make sure that everything's worked how you wanted it to do, and then you get back onto the next day. So we're continually, I mean, the way to describe it is continuous deployment of code and testing. So you're keeping doing that, you know, kind of 24 hours a day. So no, look, I've seen it make a huge difference to us, and we've probably delivered, you know, I would say we've probably delivered a year's worth of code in less than 4 or 5 months, and that I think is, you know, is a huge benefit from working with a remote team, but importantly working with a remote team that shares the same values. Look, TwentyTech, there's when you ever pick a partner, one of the things you have to look at is what their experiences are. I'm going to look at their experiences, their skill set, and what projects they've delivered before. So for me, the first thing is you want to pick a partner that understands your industry. If you work with a partner that has no context of the property industry, the challenge is that creates a huge amount of challenge and barriers to creating a successful product, because they don't understand what the product needs to do. And I think TwentyTech has an absolute wealth of experience within the property sector. I mean, I smile now because I know that the team kind of picked me up on some things, and they're saying, Gary, are you sure you want to do this? Because we could actually do this, and we think this will work. And I think that experience makes a big difference. So when my product guys are actually producing user stories, you know, they're creating the sprints, the understanding from TwentyTech around what that means, you know, what does this actually mean for an end user, makes a huge amount of difference. And I think that for me is one massive standout, that if anybody's doing any development in the kind of prop tech, legal tech, kind of fintech space, TwentyTech have that experience, and that makes a huge difference. So that's point number one. You know, point number two is you look for the breadth of skill set. So you look at what they've actually delivered in the past, and you look at the breadth of kind of the development capability. So, you know, I was able to obviously look at a number of solutions that TwentyTech had created. I looked at how the previous kind of products that they'd actually used and the skill sets of that team. So we were very much focused on delivering a React solution, you know, platforms as a service, you know, within this space, and TwentyTech were able to demonstrate that, and therefore it just helped us accelerate so much quicker. And I think the other key thing that I like about it is that, you know, rightly you enforce kind of having a project manager, you know, product owner on your side as well, and that just meant that whilst we'll be project managing and product owning the product over here, we've got somebody that actually is living and breathing it every single day over in Hanoi. Yeah. And as a result of that, the communication is so much clearer and so much freer. And if I was to give you a testimonial from my product owner that looks after the TM Gateway platform, when she first came onto the product, she said to me, "Oh, where's the roadmap?" We took her through the roadmap. We took it, and I said, "Look, you know, the release, you know, we'll be going through continuous code release on this," and so she started throwing in some ideas, and then she messaged me the next morning and she said, "They've done it all." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Oh my God, this is so quick." And I said, "But this is the benefit you get of that kind of continuous cycle and people who understand the industry and having the skill set." So we're getting much faster delivery of code, my testing team are hugely impressed by the quality of code as well. And I think, you know, what all I can say is that when you combine the kind of skill set and the industry experience, you get products that actually work and solve problems. And for me, that's a massive difference and a key differentiator with how we've made this work and how we've made it to be a success. From it, but the experience for me is that we've been able to rapidly accelerate our innovation. That's something that we had that hasn't previously been possible. TM Group's been around for a long time. We've got a number of, you know, hugely successful products, but our passion to create more innovation, digitize this industry, has meant that we've been able to deliver technology so much faster, with minimal effort. I mean, my product team are probably working, they're working flat out for user stories and requirements, but we're delivering it, as I said, probably 3 times faster than we would have expected to have done at this stage. I mean, if you look at the work that we've delivered, and I think the other thing I'm massively keen to kind of share is the flexibility of the team. If you think about the number of products and projects that we worked on together, it's not just about creating a kind of core product and a piece of technology. We've worked a lot on how we can utilize data. We're working together on some AI projects. And I think the key thing for me is the flexibility that TwentyTech brings. We can, and I think some businesses think about this in the wrong way, but I mean, I can stand up a pod. We've got lead developers we can stand up pods in Hanoi with TwentyTech very, very quickly, and then I can stand up a pod, they can complete that piece of work, I can stand that pod down, and then we stand up another pod for something else. So I literally can kind of, it's like candy in a sweet shop. I can just keep picking the right bits of candy that I want at the right time, and that flexibility makes a big difference when you're trying to run quite a large technology business, and one that's trying to make quite rapid change. For me, that's a key part of the whole relationship, is the flexibility and the assurances that we get what we ask for. Yeah, so that we've made sure that as part of our contractual arrangements, and again, the rigor and the detail that TwentyTech went through to just confirm, just to make sure that from a legal perspective, we've signed up for, kind of data processor controller rights, so that actually TwentyTech feel part of the TM group and they come under the kind of TM group kind of security and governance. And I think that's something that, was a key component that Tracy, you and the team pushed at us and actually asked us to kind of cover off, and actually provided us with the framework to do so. So I think that, it's not just about the operational piece, as you say, it's the legality behind it as well, and making sure that the contracts and the legal standing is correctly set up. I mean, a lot of people get concerned about kind of where and what data is happening and how it's kind of operating and where the code base relies on. But look, I think one of the things that I can kind of share is that the TwentyTech team work inside our GitHub repositories. They work in our tech platforms. They work in our kind of AWS environments. And we have a solid kind of framework to make sure that there's no leakage of code. There's no kind of misalignment of kind of data, and the development process that we followed is very much to produce the product. It comes into our kind of UAT environment. We then lift it and put it into our production environment, and then we process the code between there. So there's a seamless gap. There's a seamless security point, if you like, between what the team in Hanoi and TwentyTech produce and how it gets into our production environment. So we've got that security. So everything else that the team are working on is segregated, so it protects both the TwentyTech team and the TM group as well. So yeah, we've had no concerns over that, and we've just set up, I think it was on TwentyTech's advice on how to do that, and it's worked very, very well for us. Yeah, look, I mean, I think, as I said earlier, that having a kind of project product owner on the Hanoi side kind of trade off is actually worked very well, because we don't, I don't talk to the end developers, so I've got a great interface, so if I look at, Jo King, my product owner on the TM Gateway product, she works with a product owner and the project manager from TwentyTech, and actually they're on calls. They interface with each other over Teams every day, and then twice a week they will have a kind of session where they run through what was done in the week and then what's planned for in the next week. So that engagement, we never have to kind of talk to the developers, but then my developers, they will have a technical session where they will technically review the code as it comes back through the business. It's back into our GitHub repositories. And so my architects will have a good point and to make sure that they're happy with what's coming back into them as well. And I think what they've found is it's a good learning curve for them, because they're seeing how different ways technology can be utilized outside of what they know as well. So we try and make sure that we have a twinned interface where we've got our systems architects and our developers. As they're receiving the code, they're vetting it, they're doing it, and they're processing it, and our QA teams are QAing the product. But from a product ownership perspective, we're making sure that we've got the right relationship with the product owners to actually deliver the product. So, we're certainly using Teams, we're using Jira, we're using all the same internal tools that we use internally, and I know that and I think one of the things I found is that the Hanway team are very flexible with the tools they use. So in many cases we use the same, but if we use something different, they've been really good to adopt some of our kind of solutions as well. So it goes back to that point. It's not, this is not, I don't believe this is a typical offshore relationship. This for me is an extension of our teams. And I think that's the key thing for me, is we treat it like an extension. And, you and I generally, when I'm around, we have a call on a Friday just to make sure that the projects and the programs, are working how we want them from a leadership perspective as well. And so I think we have lots of different touch points with the business, which makes a big difference. And I think that helps to keep, A, the relationship on track, but B, all the projects on track as well.